Patrick, I have thoughts.
Do you now?
It's yes. So this,
Because I actually have a million ways to derail those. If people haven't figured that out by now.
so actually, that's a really good way to kind of segue into these thoughts, because I want to talk about epiphanies today.
Are you having them?
No. So
There's pills for that.
This is speaking of derailing. Literally, you're about to derail this topic before we even get into it. But,
sorry.
No. That's okay. No. It's okay, because I think that's part of it. Is like these. I have found. So yes, this past week, this is obviously an episode that is coming weeks after I've had these thoughts, because we're recording this late June. So obviously, you're like, Mike, I wonder what the aftermath of this is. By the time you listen to this, the aftermath, in theory, should be starting to present itself through the work I'm doing, and there will be stuff that you won't even notice. But the derailing is interesting. So, I don't take the term epiphany lightly, right? Like, I think it can get overused, right? People talk about that. And obviously there's the religious connotation. I grew up Catholic, the idea of Epiphany, January 6th, all that. But I think that when you have these kind of, it's an epiphany when I think there is both an equal measure of fear and fascination around it. Do you know what I mean? Like so what I mean by that is like there's an excitement and there's this palpable feeling around it, but also you're like, it's scary to move ahead. I saw a video today from on TikTok, Alan Watts, talking about, change doesn't take time. Like, people say, change takes time. And he says, I disagree. He goes, change can happen in an instant. It's almost like he's saying that the perseverance of change is what is imbued in time, right? Like, it's that pure perseverance but once you make the decision that change is happening, then the change has effectively happened. It's just, will you sustain it? Will you persevere through it? And that derailing that you're talking about is very compelling, because I think that's often what, like, the old part, those old thoughts, those old things, the comfort, for maybe even lack of a better term, the complacency, is what can pull you either out of that kind of momentum from these thoughts, or can actually, so you have to kind of almost avoid the derailing. Do you know what I mean? Which is why I kind of like said, no, don't cut me off. This is important. Like, and again, there's this space that I think is required for them. That's where I think that it's the taking up of the space where it gets derailed.
Well, and of course it depends on the epiphany, right?
This is a big one,
because here's
this was personal and professional. I've not had many of them combined. I've had like one or the other, not one that's like kind of, and to the point where, Anyway, go ahead.
No, I think of epiphanies as like a dawning, as it were, like, oh, this dawned on me. Oh, I see now what I wasn't able to see before. I know something now that I did not know before. I see epiphanies as a sudden spark of knowledge. But you seem to be using a different definition or a different context.
I think it's an interpretation.
Interpretation. Okay.
So you say knowledge, I say understanding. I think that and when you say dawning or realization, I think that that's an element of it. I think some of it can be an awakening or an unlocking too. So I look at epiphanies. I don't have them. So to me, so when you bring it up, like, how often do you have epiphanies? I guess is like, again, this is quantity quality thing, I think too. I don't have very many. When I do, they're like, you hear that term "come to Jesus" moments, and I think that those can be those can. I mean, obviously, Epiphany has a relation to that if you're looking at from a theological perspective, right? Like the whole idea of the January
Yeah.
6th stuff. But to me, I think I don't use that term lightly. I guess I'm not saying you do,
Well,
but I'm saying that maybe when I hear that definition that you've kind of allocated to me, that would be not an epiphany. That would be just like a recognition or a
mm,
realization, not a
mm,
holy shit moment. Like I literally,
okay. Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
it
All
was a
right.
holy shit moment.
And
Like, I mean, maybe that's what we should
yeah.
call this. It's not, the topic of this episode is epiphanies, is like holy shit moments. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. 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 Well, um, and I think agreed. Now I see we have you have a much more narrow definition of of when you use that term.
Yes.
Not to say that it is wrong, just
Right.
to say that what you would qualify as an epiphany um is much larger than maybe what I and maybe I'm the one who needs to narrow my definition because if everything is holy shit then nothing is, right?
Yep.
A dawning, a recognition, a learning, a new knowledge. Well, that doesn't all necessarily have to be an epiphany. For instance, um, uh, and sometimes this stuff can be slow rolling, right?
Yes.
Or at least in my mind, can be, oh, here's more evidence of this thing that I've been thinking about or trying to figure out for quite some time.
Hmm.
An example of this, a recent example for me, was that um, I am I for quite some time, I have been trying to really try to understand and figure out, and there's much scientific disagreement around this, as to how much of what we do and who we are is nature and how much of it is nurture. And
Yeah.
I believe much more is nature than we typically give credit for.
Hmm.
And I continue to see evidence of that in my wife and daughter, simply because they are a lot alike personality-wise, a lot alike. They tend to think the same way, they tend to act the same way, they tend to they have a lot of similarities that cannot be cannot just can't be nature. Just can't be nature in my mind. Or I should say, can't be
Nurture. I was
nurture.
going to say
Has to be
nurture. Yeah,
nature.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
look at
can't
them
be
and you're like,
nurture, have to
this
be
is
nature.
this is
Yeah.
clearly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, no, totally, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I noticed that yesterday, and I'm trying to figure out, like, is this nature? Is this nurture? Because I can't, while some might see, oh, that's got to be nurture, I can't think of a time when this would have been presented to my daughter enough times, uh, that, "Oh, mom does it this way, so this is the way it must be done." You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yep.
They could be nurture, and that's this. And it's just something that continues to delight, me, uh, to no end. Um, I'm going to show you a card. It is a credit card. I'm gonna show you the kind of back of the credit card. I'll cover up the number so it doesn't show.
We're not putting this on YouTube today
But
for sure.
all right, all right, all right, all right. So yeah. So what color is that to you, Mike? What color is
It's like
this
a deep
card?
blue. It's a deep blue.
It's like a blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, uh, my daughter calls this the green card. You know why?
Because it's got money on it. Oh,
No.
the side. Oh, the edge of it
The
is green.
the It is green, and so why does she call it the green card? Is well, because when
When
this is,
she's
for
yep,
instance,
yep,
when you're looking at it in a wallet,
yeah. The
right?
edge,
And
the edge.
Right, right, exactly. So what is this other card? This is this card is the card in the middle, is that yellow?
It looks yellow. It's yellow if you're looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah,
Guaranteed it's
yeah,
not.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, that's the yellow card, but no,
No,
it's
it's black.
black,
Yeah.
right? And so, but I find this
It's
fascinating
perspective.
because this is something that my wife has done for as long as I've known her, and I've known her for 23 years now, 22 years. Um, and
So they
no,
both look
going
at
on
the edges.
23, sorry.
They look at the edges of the card, and that's their determinant as to what color the card is overall.
That's what the and what they call it. So when my daughter, because my daughter just very recently got added to our, because she just became
Moved.
18,
Yeah.
and we're trying to prepare for her, and so we got her a card on our joint
Sure.
system, right?
Sure.
She's now part of the family, so she got her first credit card, um, and but it's very specific as to what we let her use that card for.
Sure.
She can't just run out and buy a bunch of clothes for herself. She needs to use her own money for that.
Yeah.
But this card is our money, right?
But the
And so she
identifier
has
for
to ask,
her. So the identifier for her.
yeah, can I use the green card? And
at-
I'm like, Wait, what? Oh, yeah, you could use the
so
green
you have
card."
to adjust.
I
You have
was
to
like,
adjust your understanding versus their
"Ye
understanding is fine. They
yeah,
get it. If she talked to Bethany
right."
about it, it'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. For you, it's like, what green
Well,
card?
right, exactly, but here's the thing, Bethany's never called it the green card.
What?
Bethany has never called it the green card. Beatrix calls it the green card. Bethany always says the joint card, just
So it's
because
just but
it's
she
our
knows
joint
what
credit card.
the green card is by virtue
Yes.
of that. So you all have
Yes.
3 different naming conventions for that card.
Right, right, but my point, okay, so my point being is that Bethany has, for as long as I've known her, has often referred to cards by the color that's on the edge of the card, not
Sure.
the face of the card. Number 2, that particular card she generally refers to as the joint card. Beatrix, having just gotten that card, has decided to call it the way that Bethany typically calls cards.
Not
And I
yours.
don't,
Yeah.
right, and I don't quite know if it's nature or nurture, right? But just yesterday, this occurred to me when she asked if she could use it, and she said, "Can I use the green card?" It took me a second, and that's when, like, boom. Okay,
Yeah.
is this a nature thing? Is this a nurture thing? And boom, I had an epiphany. I had a realization, and another element of my exploration as for nature versus nurture and that sort of thing. Because, and the reason why nature and nurture is so important to me
Mhm.
is because, as we've discussed before, I believe that most things in life are a choice. It's either a choice we make voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah.
But regardless, we make choices, right?
Mhm.
From the time we wake up to the time we go to bed at night. Everything in our life is driven by a choice.
Mhm.
A choice to go shopping, a choice to go to dinner, a choice, everything,
Yeah.
right? A choice to stay married, a choice not to, it's like everything is a choice, right? And so, um, what drives those choices, whether voluntary or involuntary, whether nature or nurture, and that's why it's always been interesting to me to try to figure out, like, I wonder if, um, I wonder how many of our choices are driven by nature or driven by nurture.
As you bring this up, I started to think about what epiphanies can mean And I think that there's two versions, like you talked about. There's the one I mentioned, the holy shit moment, like for me. And again, it's nuanced, it's perspective, right? Then there's the aha moment, like just a aha. Like it's not as, to me, an aha moment isn't as big as that. An aha moment is like, oh, like aha, it's that realization. What's interesting is what you shared with me just now and with everybody here is that a holy shit or an aha moment? Does it land somewhere in between? Like, what does that look like? And I think it's fascinating. Again, we're really talking about language here and understanding of language and words and all that. Because, I mean, again, back to the story of the edge of the card, right? Like context, it's contextual. Like that's really what it is. Like, in terms of you having to recalibrate, okay, so this is what Beatrix will call it. And this is, so I need to speak their language more than, but they also need to speak yours. Because if you say, hey, it's going on this card, you're like, okay, what is, they're doing that word math in their head, right? Or no, or do they?
Mike.
Or
Mike,
do
you are
they?
so optimistic.
No,
You're so optimistic in believing that my two very headstrong women in my life
I teed this up for you.
Would adjust to me. No, it will not work that way. I will adjust to them.
Yeah.
This is the way that it is. I'm outnumbered. It's 2-1. And they will gang up on me and make me comply. I'm just here to tell you how it works for me and my life.
But try to understand that, like with 4 in our house right now, the odds of me getting a victory, very slim. Because the best it's like the World Cup. I can hope for a tie. And in the event of a tie, it's going to penalty kicks. Probably not going to win, right? And if it ends in a tie, it ends in a tie, I still kind of lose.
Yeah. Did you hear that story? Speaking of which, and yes, I'm derailing us. I'm sorry. We'll get back to it. About the I guess it's the USA and Mexico, and they have this, like the USA did something. Basically, the United States beat someone that allowed Mexico to get into the World Cup for the first time in a long time.
Oh yeah, I don't remember who it was, but yes. Well, they got in the World Cup anyway because they're a host nation. But yes, they
right.
They ended up they placed better as a result, I think, is how it worked out.
Right. And what it ended up doing was forming this like mutual admiration society between the US team and the Mexico team, and the Mexico team and their fans all have this chant that they do, basically saying, US team, you're Mexican now, US team, you're Mexican now, and like vice versa, and there's lots of love there, and that they were going to have to be playing against each other for the first time since this happened, and that both teams were actually hoping for a draw.
Yeah,
because they had too much respect for the other team to want to win, which I thought was just the most beautiful thing in the world, right?
The nice thing about football in that sense is that you get, when you have a draw, like the World Cup obviously is a whole different animal because, they're moving forward, but the nice thing about a draw, you've seen Ted Lasso. So, I mean, like...
I have not.
Oh, that's right. You've not. I remember. So in Ted Lasso...
We bring this up all the time.
They talk about ties. They talk about ties. And so the next time you buy new Apple gear, which will probably be a while from now...
Get the trial and binge Ted Lasso. I know.
Yes.
Well, especially now that they just raised prices. I'm especially like,
I am so happy. I got a MacBook Air now, right?
I know.
Yeah. I bought it like
when the going was
2
good.
weeks before the pricing went up, and they say it's going to be temporary. But
I
don't know about all that either. Nonetheless, it is interesting that the language, and I mean, again, we come back to this a lot. I mean, around language, around like, and what I also find interesting is interpretation, because I have shared I'm not going to go deeply into this holy shit moment epiphany thing that I had, because it can't be explained fully, and especially can't be explained in a single episode. In fact, you'd probably be like, I don't, what? Like, why is this such a big, because it's personal. It definitely is. I'll share it with you later, and you'll probably be like, wow, you might. The interesting thing about these kind of things is that if they are so tied to you, it's very difficult to, number one, explain it, and and even if you do, for that understanding to be mutual, right? For example, I shared it with my kids and my wife, and they looked at me like I had two heads, right? Which would have been nice, because I would have finally outnumbered them, maybe. But I mean, but I know what it meant, and this understanding, this, and to me, I think that I've had aha moments, and aha moments are nice, because they are, like, for me at least, because they're like, oh, okay, I get it now, right? This was not that. This was definitely a ayahuasca level, like, I'm off meditating. Holy shit. Okay. Unlocking of, like, we're talking based on, and people are gonna be like, Mike, you have to tell us what it is eventually. Like, you're gonna have to, because you're leading up to it. I will tell you that the beginning of this seems to be from 2021. And it goes all that way back. So we're talking 5+ years later, where, like, everything led to this. I'm like, oh, and keep in mind, I've just come back from a conference in Boise, Idaho, as I'm doing this. Like, I was there for a week on my own, other than immersed in the conference with a bunch of people, which, as you know, getting in person with people, like being in the room, immersed in some common ground, and not having done it in close to 2 years, was just incredible. But then the aftermath, normally when you go to a conference like this, or any kind of work event, you arrive maybe the day before, then you spend some time, and then you leave the day after. I was there a day before, but I stayed like 3 days after on my own, working on the things. So that immersion level was still there. And honestly, the beginning of what happened this past, like, literally 2 days ago, as we're recording this, no, not even. Yesterday was the final kind of, I'm looking at my calendar, and I traced it back, my journal entries, to the beginning of it happening almost 2 weeks prior, like the full kind of unfolding of it. And, I think about things like the season of life that we're in. You're in a similar season, your kids leaving, my daughter, literally, as we're recording this, a week from today, my son and I will be in a different province. My daughter will be heading back, on her way back to Montreal. All of that, kind of unfolding, not unraveling. Unraveling is a very different thought.
Yes, I like that. Unfolding. Yes.
Yeah. Because we know it's coming. Unraveling is, I think unraveling would be, this is so tightly wound, whereas we know, like, we've been preparing, right? To me, it is very interesting, because that nature nurture thing comes back as well. The idea of control comes into the situation. Like, I think that's a very, so to circle back to that whole, like, what does this epiphany mean? It often, I think, in those moments when you realize it, that there were things that you, by holding on loosely at the most, the absolute most, those moments have a greater chance, I think, of not necessarily happening, but being recognized, than if you're trying to hold on so tightly, because then things unravel instead of unfold. They fall apart instead of being, let's say, disassembled, or it's like dropping. It's like taking a Lego structure and deliberately taking it apart, as opposed to, like, just smashing it on the ground, right? Because that there's something happening there. And then that nature versus nurture argument that brought up, which wasn't even an area I was going to go down. there is that element of understanding that neither of those are controllable, really.
No, not really. No, not necessarily. And once again, it's one of these, as previous listeners may know, I'm endlessly fascinated um, by mysteries of the human condition, things that, despite all the AI, despite all of the knowledge and the scientific research and all of this stuff, there's still, especially things concerning the brain and how it works. Um, there's still these great mysteries about the things we do and why. The example I've given previously is yawning, right?
Yeah.
And nature versus nurture is another one of those, right? There is no scientific consensus as to what is genetic as far as our personalities are concerned and what is learned behavior. And is it important to know? No. Is why we yawn important to know? No. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, does it necessarily matter? I mean, I suppose, like, if we could figure out why we yawn and that sort of thing, we could design a pill that prevents people from yawning, which actually might end up being dangerous. Who knows? I don't know.
Look at some of the medications and things that we've designed that were used for something like Ozempic's a great example, used to target diabetes. Oh, look, it causes weight loss. You bring up something. I want to actually bring this up really quickly because I think that there are certain things that even if you do know, what you do with that information is interesting. So one of the things that I've been exploring is I just had blood work done and I'm going to be 52. By the time you're listening to this, I will be 52. And one of the things is my cholesterol's up, right? So I'm working on that. And,
the common problem in your 50s, by the way.
It is. And they're like, well, you should go on statins and all that stuff. And I'm resistant to taking medication that I don't necessarily need, especially if lifestyle changes can adjust it, because I can take command of that. But what's interesting also is that if you are genetically predisposed to this stuff, lifestyle changes can only, so you're saying yourself, like you can make all the lifestyle changes you want and it still won't necessarily get you to where you want to go.
Make a difference, yeah.
Now you can take a test that will tell you genetically you are predisposed to more of cardio. But what's interesting to me is, because I'm going to end up getting that test done because I want to know, because it doesn't hurt not to know. It doesn't hurt not to know. But there's two reasons I want to know. No, one is, how far do I go to get the results I want? Like, I'm not. There's a difference when it comes to and we've heard these stories before. The guy lived like super healthy and all that stuff, and then he dropped dead of a brain aneurysm, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he lived a health and he died at 45 or 53 or whatever. And then you have people who've smoked forever and drank whiskey and they're like, look, they're in their 90s, right? Like, there is like that lot. Like, you don't know. You just don't know. But what's interesting is, if I find out, let's say I find out that I am genetically predisposed to higher cholesterol. So what do I do with that information? Do I go, well, I guess that's my lot in life. So what does it matter if I make lifestyle changes? So it might affect the degree. But the other thing is it also gives me the understanding that no matter what I do to an nth degree, I won't be able to change that. So it does give me a range, which I think which is what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the absolute solution because number one, there is none. But having that information can be helpful depending on the person, depending on the behavior. Because somebody might find out that and go, oh, well, I guess since I'm predisposed, what's the point? I'm going to get it anyway. Right. I'm going to die. And I think that's fascinating to me. That to me is like, that's where the human that's where the choice comes in. Because the more information you have, you can do more with it because you have more evidence, right? But I mean, for me to say, oh, well, since I'm predisposed, I guess I can just eat more. Who cares? I'm just going to eat processed food anyway. I might as well do that because that's probably what could. No, that's not necessary because there's something greater to. But that to me is that whole nature nurture thing. Like I can nurture all I want, but nature will say, well, you're never going to get it down to the level that you want because of this.
Yeah, well, and I don't need a test. All my doctor, has to do is ask me about my family history. And I can say, everyone on my mom's side of the family had a stroke sometime before age 70, going all the way back to, as far as I am aware, back to my great-great-grandmother.
Holy crow.
And on my dad's side, well, it's all heart failure, at a young age, going all the way back for generations once again. And so, it didn't take anything for my doctor to say, this is you, unless you start taking statins regularly every single day, starting right now. then you might possibly have be able to push it back a bit. But just know if the heart failure doesn't get you, the stroke will at some point, and that's the way the end of your life is going to look. Unless you get on the program right this moment.
Well, and that's the thing.
Okay, then.
So if at the end of the day I get this test and it says, you know what, you're predisposed, we think you should go on statins. I'm like, I've gotten every bit of evidence that says, you know what, I probably should then. Like, okay, great, I will do that. If not, if it's like, no, you're not. I'm like, well, lifestyle, yes, it'll get you there. Okay, great. But I mean, and none of us are getting out of here alive anyway. We know that.
Exactly.
We know that. But exactly. And I know that at this age, my goal isn't to, my goal is just to live a good life, right? Like I don't need to live. I mean, I think it's so funny because we're getting to that. I think medicine has evolved to the point, technologically advanced to the point where you have more people saying, yeah, I think 80's fine. Like they're actually saying, hey, if I live past 80, whereas before people, I think, especially even like my grandparents and stuff, they died, like my mom's parents died in their 70s. My dad's parents died. Well, my grandfather died in his 80s. My grandmother lived to 100. So that's the other weird thing.
I remember that, actually.
Yeah, so it's like okay.
I remember you celebrating 100th birthday. Yeah,
and it's one of those things where my uncertainty levels are all over the map with that. Plus, I don't have as accurate a family medical history for a variety of reasons. Plus, I live in a completely other part of Canada that they do, so they don't always talk to each other. So it's for me to get that information is trickier. But I have a sense, and so I think what again, my aim with all of this, which again ties back to what I talked, like that holy shit moment of, oh, this is what this is. Okay, what does this? What role does this play into that? It's probably and as I'm talking about it, like I know that I'm going to be sitting with this without doing much around it other than kind of decompressing and kind of figuring it out, like dialing it in for the next, I mean, we're recording this a week before my birthday. So probably the next week, because it's marked next to a milestone, I'm probably going to be kind of investigating this a bit more deeply and looking into this a bit more. And I know that that's the other thing with holy shit moments, which the derailing is sometimes they're more than what you think they are. But in that moment, I'm now at the point now where I ask, why in that moment was it more to me than it actually was?
Well, and once again, it can be contextual, right? That a holy shit at one point in your life or even one point in your week might be a nothing burger, like at any other
Mm-hmm.
point, right?
Yep.
Like, I think it comes down to a lot of different contextual things. Like I said, and you know, and perception, like
Yeah.
we've said.
Yeah.
What is a holy shit to you, to your family, is a two-head. Have you lost it? Like, what's that's a big deal. Oh, okay,
What
whatever,
are you wanting? Can I have some?
whatever, whatever. By the way, does this holy shit moment have anything to do with lanterns or wrestling?
No,
Um,
it does have to do. No, sure.
because I mean, so many of your holy shit moments have to do with either lanterns or, the Green Lantern or wrestling.
No, but
I
it
just
does
want to
have
make
to do
sure.
something with something that like it has to do with something that I did bring up a number of years ago that I was obsessing over that I didn't quite know why I was obsessing over. And
Ah,
it's come back. I let it go for a while and it literally came back.
ah,
And
but
what
now you realize why,
yes. So
and that's the epiphany.
yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, well, we're getting closer, folks. We're extracting it, so when
And
we
actually,
find
it's
out.
funny. Oh my God, I just thought about this. It's literally almost 6 years later that it like the fruition of it, which makes sense if you think about this idea of six. Like, because it's the number six plays a role in it for sure. Or it's the fact that it's 2026. So one or the other. It could be 6 years different or 6 years. But it has to do. I mean, it has to do with this idea of hexagons that I thought of
So
like
so
years ago.
so we are like going into like some weird numerology place here. This is kind of
Ex-
fun.
except
Um, it,
it wasn't numerology. Like except oddly enough, I haven't looked at the numerology angle of it all. It's all related to a variety. Actually, you know what? I can't even say that wrestling didn't play a role because the fifth part, like a further unlocking, happened when I was listening to a wrestling podcast
of course,
in a relaxed state. Not even I was doing dishes, like you know how we talk about listening to podcasts while we're doing dishes. It happened like in
yeah,
that kind of moment where I'm like,
yeah.
oh, and I made a note of it, and then I'm like, oh well, that led to another thing. Like it's just really because I don't think I think the other interesting thing is that like that kind of moment, it doesn't always just go, oh, there it is, and it goes away. Like there's this, it's almost like, you know, like how a comet leaves like a trail behind it, you know, like it's
Mhm, mhm,
or in a
mhm,
disastrous element, like an earthquake leaves aftershocks kind of thing. Like it's almost like that
mhm,
where, oh, there it is. I'm like, oh,
mm,
there it is. There it is. There it is. Like it's just peppering throughout. And
mhm.
what was interesting is I think it's actually probably closer to an earthquake because everything leading up to that moment was probably there were tremors every once in a while. And then now there's aftershocks. You know,
Mm.
only this is not a disaster. You know, if it is, that ain't good, but it certainly doesn't feel that way. It's just it was one of those things where I can tell you that when my wife and kids saw me, like we talked about it yesterday, they're like, like they didn't just look at me like what you're talking about is crazy to us because they just have no context, but they could tell that my demeanor was adjusted. That I think is key. Like,
Mhm,
there's a vibe coming off of you that is
mhm,
different,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And it's not
mhm.
just a weird vibe like what you just said, which is weird, but there's some, you know, there's this
Mhm.
like, and I know it's gonna sound people who are listening like Mike's all gone all nuts, or there's this like when he talks about vibe and aura and all that stuff. But
It's going a little woo-woo, but that's okay.
yeah, I mean, I am pragmatic. I mean, after all, but I mean, there is as these things unfolded and unlocked and unfolded, I guess, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, this makes sense. Oh, this makes sense. And yeah, it's just fascinating. Like to the point where, like I said, after like literally when we're done recording, I'm probably just going to sit with it again some more, which I
Mm,
normally don't do for things like this. Like normally it's like take action, take action, take action. And I have been
mm,
taking moderate forms of action, but it's more just
mhm,
sitting with the interpretation of it all as opposed to, I mean, again, it's reflection, I guess. Like this idea of reflective practice, I think is such a huge, because, well, I mean, what is it? What are the precepts of Buddhism again? Like right mind, right action.
Right action, right understanding.
Right.
Yeah,
like there's that stuff that
right
kind of
speech.
is, all of that, it's just, I don't know quite how to, again, I don't know quite how to fully explain it because it's still kind of presenting itself in ways go ahead.
Can I trust that you have at least taken some time out to sit down and write about this?
Oh, I have written copious amounts about it to the point where when that moment really showed up, 4 hours of that was happening.
Wow.
Like I was in that.
Right.
It was not to the point where it was like, you've got to go to bed now. Like, I'm a night owl, but 4 in the morning, that's the sun was coming up.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like in two ways, right?
Yeah, well, that's just it. It was like, it was very, it was, and I honestly believe that probably the beginning of again, going to that conference, as much as it's not like it's a business conference, right? But it's the company you're keeping, all of that stuff. I think that was just like okay, switch one, switch two. Like it's, and then, this, again, the 25th of June was like there it is. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I'm doing a live stream, like literally, but it'll already happened, and the episode will already be out, but with Gary John Bishop, the guy.
Okay.
So I'm doing a live stream with him, and the title of his next book is called Now What? Which I've not read yet. But I've got the copy of the book, and I've got to read it between now and
maybe. Well, maybe this is a good time to start.
maybe. Yeah, I've got to grab that book. But Patrick, by the way, as after this come up, for those of you that have subscribed to the Lantern email, you would have received an email a few weeks ago where I talk about your book enough in the post script of it. So if you've not checked it out, because I wrote about this idea of enough, and it has. I don't want to get into the details of it. You can find it if you go to kit.mikevardy.com. All of my Lantern emails are there, so you can go there and check them out. But there's definitely an allusion to this idea of enough, which is a word I've had a contentious relationship with over the years, because to me it can always mean like one step away from not, but also that's okay. So we'll wrap things up here. I loved that we came into this conversation with really no pure agenda. And actually, this has helped me. Well, no, but we didn't really have a word, or we said we're going to play it by ear.
And
we kind of did.
You had an idea.
Yep.
Yeah. You kind of had an idea, and that's great. I was ready to run with it. So,
where can people keep up with what you've got going on, Patrick?
PatrickRhone.com, PatrickRhone.com. That'll lead you to everywhere else.
And of course, my new book is coming out very soon, MikeVardy.com/productiveness. The new book is called Productiveness. I'm really excited to deliver this to the world. And again, thanks so much for taking the time to listen, Patrick. Thanks so much for being here, as always.
Oh, it's my pleasure as always, Mike. I look forward to this every month. Thank you.